Hello Aqua friends and happy Halloween month. I thought I would do a spooky inspired painting for you today, and I'm going to talk about values in your painting and how to connect these values so that your painting has a good flow. I hope you guys stay tuned for the bonus segment at the end of the video where I will go through how to make a value study. I really do think this makes a world of a difference and really ups your watercolor skills. We're going to start off wet on wet, and we're going to wet our paper really well. And today I'm just using one color, so this is a monochromatic, kind of like a evening scene, so I decided to use indigo blue, and I'm just getting a very loose sky in there, very cloudy sky. I'm going right into my second value. The sky is the lightest. The second value is all the background, out of focus trees. So I'm sort of doing those in one big blob. So I'm just tapping in those colors, as you can see. Now on the right hand side of the painting is where the value changes and it becomes a lot darker. So this tree I'm making darker, and I'm sort of blending it in and bringing that darkness across the foreground. Adding a little detail for some of these branches on the right hand side. If your paper is starting to dry, you could spritz it with a little bit of water like I just did. I kind of want soft and hard edges. These little marks I'm putting are some of the tombstones that are darker. And then we're going to let that paper dry completely before we put the foreground in. Now, since I'm left-handed, I'm working right to left, but you could work the opposite. And I do have a pencil sketch that I'm following on my paper, and I am putting in these tombstones. I do like to wet the tombstone first and drop in the color. It gives me time to pull and push the paint around so that I get a nice even coat. If you guys are getting value out of this video and you like my artwork, please subscribe and hit that like button. It really helps me out on YouTube. Much appreciated. In the main tombstone here, I will work a lot more detail on this foreground main tombstone. So as the paper is drying, I'm able to use less water and a little dry brushing effects and more details on this foreground tombstone. There's some tombstones in the background that are very light, and that also shows that it's receding. So some I'm doing at a very light value. I didn't like the shape of that one tree. I thought it just sloping all the way down was a little boring, so I'm trying to correct that, add a little bit more detail and a little bit more round corners. Now that right hand side is darker in the reference photo, and I'm adding in more paint, and I'm bringing that darkness and connecting it to the foreground so that it has a nice flow and it sort of draws the eye. So now that that main tombstone is dry, I'm adding more details. I'm dry brushing. With a very fine detail brush and very dry paint, I'm just kind of scribbling to make it look like there's a faded script on the tombstone. Okay, now for the bonus part, I think this is a great exercise to do before you even start painting. And the whole idea of doing a tonal sketch is so that you can figure out what the different values are in your painting. So I'm going to put this aside and I'm going to show you on just some sketch paper. You want to take some charcoal, and you don't need a whole bunch of charcoal. You can have like a light and medium, and you could vary the pressure so that you could change your tonal values. Now the color of the paper could be one value, and then this is a light color. And then what you want to do, you don't want to concentrate on any sort of detail. You just want to connect shapes to make these tonal differences so that you can see where your values are. Also, when we connect large shapes before we come in and do any sort of details, your eye is going to flow a lot better. So this is because I know the background trees are like all this, like basically one tonal value here. Okay. Then around the edges of the tree, we do have a little bit more detail, a little bit more darkness through some of these trees. And then, of course, our foreground tombstones. But this one gets to be really dark, and instead of drawing things separately like the tree and then the ground, it's just too harsh on the eye. So blend it with your watercolors into the foreground. You have this nice swooping motion. Plus, this one tombstone here is pretty dark, but I kind of just blend it in to the darkness. I don't have all of the shapes. Okay, so this little step helps us make sure that what we're seeing, these tonal values are going to work. And sometimes we think one thing is one value, and then we go and do this tonal value sketch and we realize, oh, so see the ones on the side here of this, if we look at the reference photo, this gets darker on the side. So that's the little detail. But you see, this is going to be a lot more cohesive than if we were just to come in and make these. This doesn't flow very nicely here. Let's try this one. Make a tree. Okay, make some background trees. And then this really dark one, make our tree, put in our foreground, and then you see it just doesn't look as cohesive as this. So we're connecting large shapes, and this one we're connecting this whole background. And while it's still wet, putting in those middle and mid-tones and dark tones, connecting it with the foreground, connecting it, to some of these tombstones, this composition, the eye it's a lot more pleasant. This is too harsh. So that's what tonal value studies do, and I really do think that you'll notice a big difference in your paintings if you do them too. You guys just made a masterpiece. I hope you like these tips on how to connect different tonal values to make a cohesive painting. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.